Today we're going to look at multiplying matrices, and this is quite a bit different than just adding. When you add matrices, you just add the corresponding um, elements. Thank you. And now you don't. So this is different. So you really need to pay attention. It's not hard, but it's kind of fun to look at the way the patterns work here. Okay, so to find the product of two matrices, you have to look at the dimensions of the matrices. And the matrix, like matrix A, if matrix A has dimensions m by n, and we want to multiply it times matrix B, and the dimensions of B are n by something else, so P, then we can multiply those two together because the inside dimensions match up. So that's what we have to look at. And when we multiply, then we get matrix A, B, and you know we can call it C or something, but the dimensions of that product are going to be M times P. So you get the outside dimensions when you actually multiply them together. Okay, so let's take a look. So if we have here on number 1, we want to multiply matrix A times B. So the A has to go first, so A is going to go on the left, B is going to go on the right, and then we look at the dimensions. So if A is a 1 by 2, that means it has 1 row and it has 2 columns. And then matrix B then is going to go on the right, and it has 2 columns, 2 rows and 2 columns. So yes, we can multiply those because the inside dimensions are the same. And our product then, AB, is going to have dimensions 1 by 2. So it's the outside dimensions that you're looking at. Okay, so if you look at 2 and 2, matrix A is a 3 by 2 and B is a 3 by 2. So if we put it that way, A has to be on the left, B is on the right. So if we're looking for product AB, then you have to put them in that order. A is going to be on the left. And the inside dimensions then are 2 and 3, and they don't match up. So we cannot do that. We cannot find that product. Okay. This third one here, let's say we want to find A, B. So matrix A has dimensions 2 by 2. So remember, we always do rows first and then columns. So it's got 2 rows, 2 columns. Matrix B is a 2 by 2. So the inside dimensions are the same. So yes, we can multiply, and our product is going to be a 2 by 2. Okay, now let's look at how that actually works then when you multiply. So here I have 2 square matrices, so they're 2 by 2s. So A, B, C, and D represent the elements of the first one, and then we have the elements of the second one. And remember here the dimensions, so this was 2 by 2. The dimensions here are 2 by 2. So our product is going to be a 2 by 2 matrix. So here we have our matrix over here. So we've got 2 rows. So like here's 1 row, here's 1 row. So we've got 2 rows and we've got 2 columns. So we've got a 2 by 2. But notice, to get the product, we don't just take the corresponding elements and multiply them together. It's not just AE. We take the numbers in the row, the first row, times the numbers in the first column. So to get this element, which is situated in the first row, first column, we multiply the elements in the first row of the first matrix times the elements in the first column of the second matrix. So notice that we have 2 elements here, A and B, and then we have 2 elements here, E and G. So you multiply the A times the E, and you add the B times the G. So that's what this matrix up here is telling you. Okay, so if I need this element here in this matrix, so this element is in the first row, second column. So the matrix on the left, you always use the rows. The matrix on the right, you always use the columns. So to get, I guess, let me do it in another color. So to get this element, we take the elements in the first row of the one on the left times the elements in the second column on the right. So we want A times F plus B times H. So that's why those middle two numbers have to correspond, so you have the same number in your rows and your columns. All right, so to get this element is situated in the second row, first column. So you go back and you take your row again. First.
Wouldn't it be the second row on this one?
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, second row. Sorry, second row times first column. So see, we have C and D here. We have E and G here. So you multiply the ones that you see first. So it's C times E plus D times G. So that's where that's coming from. That's what goes right here. Okay. And then this element is in the second row, second column. So you take the numbers in the second row times the second column. Okay, that looks kind of confusing, but actually it's kind of fun when you get to working with it. So let's throw some numbers in there and see how this works. All right, so we want to find the product A, B. So remember, A is on the left, B is on the right. All right, so let's just, let's say that our product then, AB, first thing we have to do is figure out what our dimensions are going to be. Well, A has dimensions 2 by 2. Once again, that comes from the rows first, 2 rows, 2 columns. B is a 2 by 2. So we can multiply because these are the same, but our product is the outside dimensions. So AB is going to be a 2 by 2. So that means we have 2 rows and 2 columns. So we'll have 4 elements in our product matrix.
Can we try to use the highlighter as we...
Yep. So what we're going to do then to get this first element here, remember it's situated in the first row, first column. So we're going to take the numbers in A. You always use the rows in A. We're going to take these 2 numbers here times the 2 numbers in the first column of B. So that means we want to take 1 times 5. Okay, darn it. Let's bring that erased it. That's what I was afraid of. That thing doesn't really work very well. Okay, so let's write that out again. So AB is a 2 by 2. So we're looking for this first element here. First row, first column. All right, so we want to take, I'll circle them this time. It might get kind of ugly, but maybe we won't have to circle them every time. Oh, I did it wrong.
Column.
I did the column. Oh, we'll see if that'll work. Now hopefully it won't erase. Okay, so I'm going to take the first row times the first column in the second one. So I want to take 1 times 5 plus 4 times 9. Okay, so then we go ahead and we add those 2 together, so we'll clean it up down here a little bit. So we get 41. All right, to get this element here, think about what row and column we're in. So we're in row 1, column 2. So we take row 1 from the matrix on the left times the numbers in the second column from the matrix on the right. So we want to pair 1 with -7, so 1 times -7 plus 4 times 6. So then we go ahead and clean that up and we add those 2 together and we get 17. All right, now let's go for this element. So we're in the second row, first column. So second row, this one here. First column is already blue. Hey, that worked out well. So we got to take the 3 times the 5 plus the negative 2 times the 9. And we add them together and we get negative 3. Okay, now we have one more element. Let's use black. Okay, so that element is situated in the second row, second column. So we're going to do second row here times second column here. So that means we take the 3 and the negative 7 first. So negative 3 times, 3 times negative 7 is negative 21 plus negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. So we get negative 33. So that's our product. That's what we get when we take A times B. So you don't get a number, you get another matrix. Okay? Let's go on to this screen. So I have 3 different matrices that we have to look at, and we want to find the product of A and C. So to see if we can actually find that product, the first thing we do is compare their dimensions. So by A then, let's look at the dimensions. So we look at the rows. So we've got 3 rows by 2 columns. And let's go over to C because we want to multiply it by C. C has 2 rows and 2 columns. So what do you think? Can we multiply them? And if you said yes, you are right. And our product that we're going to get is a 3 by 2, which means it has 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay?
We're going to have to do some of this in our head. We don't have enough room.
Yeah. So we are going to look at these products. Let's try and do some of those. So I'm just going to fill these in. So we've got 3 rows and 2 columns. So we've got to find 6 elements here to fill this in. So remember, it's always rows on the first one. So A, we always use the 4 and the 3 together. We always use the rows. So let's just put this. We always use the rows here. And on our second one, we always use the numbers in the columns. Okay? So we want to multiply, like for this one then, to find this first entry, which is the first row, first column. We take the 4 and the 3 times the 1 and the negative 3. So 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So 4 minus 9 is negative 5. So we're not going to write everything down. We're going to do some of this in our heads. Okay, so this next one right here, second row, first column. So second row, we're taking negative 1 and negative 2 times the elements in the first column. So we need negative 1 times 1, so that's negative 1. And then negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. So negative 1 plus 6 is 5. This element here, third row, first column. So we're taking the 2 and the 0 times the 1 and the negative 3. So notice in this first column, we always use the negative 1 and negative 3. So 2 times 1 is 2. 0 times anything is 0. So we end up with 2. Now now what we do is we move over to the other one and we go back and we're using rows 1, 2, and 3 again, but we're using the second column. So for this entry here, which is first row, second column, we use the 4 and the 3, the first row, times the second column. So now we're done with the 1 and the negative 3. We're just using the 4 and the negative 1 here. So 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. So we get 13. Now we'll move on to negative 1 and negative 2. So negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. So negative 4 plus positive 2 is negative 2. And then 2 and 0 times 4 and negative 1. So see if you can figure out what that is. I'll give you 2 seconds. And you should come up with 8. So 2 times 4 plus 0 times negative 1. Okay, so there's our product there. All right, now to find the product of B times A. So remember, B is going to go on the left side. So B is a 2 by 2. And then A is going to go on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite A over here. So the dimensions of A are there's 3 rows and 2 columns. So you have to compare it this way. You have to compare the B is on the left, the A is on the right. So you compare the dimensions that way. So we look at the inside dimensions, and no, they do not match up. So we cannot find that. There's no solution to that. You can't find the product of those two matrices. Okay? All right. So Miss Smith is going to help us through this one. Okay, so this is the equation she came, or it looks like
It's in the book.
oh, okay,
Example
an
4.
example that she came up with. So what we want to do is take our information, and this is what we use matrices for, is to organize our information. So we have 2 hockey teams, and they have all of this list that they want for the women's team and the men's team, and then they have the cost of each one. So we're going to make 2 different matrices. So let's decide how to organize it. And since we have 3 different things that we're buying, we are going to, like our cost matrix, when we multiply this out, whoops, our cost matrix then is probably going to be a 3 by 1. So the stick will do first, so we'll put $60 here, and then the pucks are $2, and the uniforms are $35. So we're going to multiply then. We want to know.
Remember that we need our dimensions to be the same.
So this one is a 3 by 1. So that means that this has to, this one has to end in a 3. So we have 2 different teams here. So we'll do the teams in the rows, and then we want to take the sticks and the pucks and the uniforms. So because we have sticks, pucks, uniforms here, we need sticks, pucks, uniforms here when we multiply them together. So for the women's team, we'll put it on top. So 14, 30, 18, and then the men's is 16, 25, 20. So we are going to multiply those together. Now look what happens when we multiply. Because we have the inside dimensions, we are going to end up with a 2 by 1. And that 2 by 1, so 2 rows, 1 column, is going to multiply the cost for us. So like for the first one, this is the women's team here. So if they're buying 14 sticks at $60 a piece, we multiply that to see how much the cost for all 14 sticks is. And then we add the cost for the pucks. We have 30 pucks at $2 each. And we have 18 uniforms at $35 each. So when you multiply those together, then you simply add those, and you end up with $1,530. So you see how that works? Now when we multiply then the second row times the first column, we end up taking the men's information. So the men want 16 sticks at $60 each, plus they want 25 pucks at $2 each, and they want 20 uniforms at $35 each. So when you multiply and then add to get their total cost, they are spending $1,710. Okay, so see how it really takes that information, and it really helps to figure things out, to get it all organized, and then come up with what you're looking for. Okay. Now let's take a look at this then. So here's the last one. Actually, we're done. So this is one that you get to try on your own and see if that works out for you. Go back and look at that again. And we can practice some more of this when you come back to class. So hopefully that works out well for you. It is kind of fun multiplying matrices, and you'll get the hang of it. All right, good job. See you in class.